Yeah, I'm thinking of. Oh. How's the light?
It'll come up soon.
Ah, there we go.
So there's a slight delay, but yeah. Hi, hopefully you guys can hear us all okay. My name is Sarah King.
And I am Tom Lawrence.
We both work for the Sloth Institute. Yeah, and looking forward to this.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, I've been here about 2.5 years now. I finished university, got my master's, and then I was looking for jobs with animals, and this opportunity with the Sloth Institute came up, and very nice of them. They said yes, and I've fallen in love with sloths, fallen in love with sloth conservation and the work that we do, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, and basically I came out a year and a half ago now. Graduated with my zoology degree from Southampton, and yeah, been here since, fallen in love with the sloths, and yeah, don't want to leave.
So yeah, a few things about kind of a little introduction about what we do. So there's lots of many different things that we do, but the primary kind of reason that we were beginning was to release hand-raised sloths back into the wild. We have a number of sloths which Sam Troll, our director, she hand-raised. So some of them came when they were only a couple days old. Some of them came in when they were a couple of months old. And so she has hand-raised them, and then she pretty much started the Sloth Institute so she could have a successful way to release those guys. And the releases of some of those guys have happened so far. Some of them still aren't ready yet, but we've so far released 4 hand-raised sloths back into the wild, and it's all going very, very well so far. One of them we actually just released a couple of weeks ago, so it's in a really exciting stage right now. She's just sort of come out of our soft release cage and is figuring out, what's going on in the jungle, what to do. It's very exciting to see her, exploring new areas, because she came in a couple months old, so she got a little bit of the jungle, but this is all, completely brand new to her. So it's very exciting. And then the other 2, Ellen and Kermie, who, if you've been on our Facebook or our website, maybe you have seen their names. They've been released for a bit over a year, and they are both doing fantastic. They are loving being out, back in the jungle where they belong. And others, which will be being released within this next year, hopefully in the coming months, which we're also very excited about. So that is kind of our main project, and that's never been done anywhere else in the world, so that's all very exciting. But then we also study wild sloths and track wild sloths. So what we're going to do is compare the quality of life between our hand-raised sloths and the wild sloths. So we can say, okay, we've released Ellen, who's a hand-raised sloth. We can see that her behavior compares very, very similar to wild sloths, or her behavior is very different to wild sloths. And then we can use that information to impact the rehabilitation process. And then there's hundreds of other things that we're very excited and very interested in doing, all impacting sloth conservation and really trying to make life better for sloths. So yeah, if anyone has if you guys have questions, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have, as many questions that you guys have. Hopefully we'll be able to see everyone's questions. If you feel that we've missed your question, just write your question down again. There's no stupid questions, so please ask whatever you feel.
Yeah, hopefully you can all hear us now. I know there's a few people who've had some difficulties, but yeah, hopefully we can figure this all out.
See a question here from Jennifer Butler. What do they eat? So you have 2-fingered sloths and 3-fingered sloths. So they separated evolutionarily about 40 million years ago. So they're actually as closely related as we are to spider monkeys, which is pretty crazy. And they are good examples of convergent evolution. I don't know if you guys are too young to be learning about convergent evolution yet, but they do eat similar things, but also different things. So primarily, they're eating leaves. So the young, supple leaves is primarily what they eat and what they absolutely love. They'll also eat small fruits, so not things that we would consider fruits. You're not going to see sloth chowing down on a banana or chowing down on like kind of the big fruits in the jungle, but they'll eat smaller things like smaller buds and fruits on various trees. We also believe potentially that two-fingered sloths might eat some insects, although there's not a huge amount of evidence for that right now. Under study, hopefully that's something we think potentially they could be eating, but primarily leaves is the main thing that they eat.
Yeah. So next question: why are sloths so slow? Basically, sloths are really slow. It's all due to saving energy. Traveling through the forest takes a lot of energy because they have to go from branch to branch. They cannot jump like other mammals, so they have to do every judgment moving. Everything has got to be precise, basically. So they have to move slowly so they can judge everything perfectly because they can't waste the energy on making a wrong turn, basically. So that's why they're so slow, conserving energy.
And even though they do appear slow, sloths can move very, very quickly when they want to. So just like what Sarah was saying, conserving energy, if they need to expend energy and move quickly, they can. It's just a lot of the time, they're resting to build up kind of that energy. Sloth fathers. So sloth fathers do not hang around. From all that we've seen so far and all the research, they do not hang around, unfortunately, to help raise their babies. Again, very understudied. So it's possible that maybe in the future, like in the kind of future of the baby, they might come and like greet the mum and the baby. We've certainly seen instances where males have approached. So the way that, so with two-fingered sloths, sorry, the way they greet each other is by kissing. So we've seen a male sloth kiss mum sloth and also kiss the baby. So we don't believe they have any role in raising the babies, but potentially if the female's there and it knows it's its baby, they might greet them, but then they'll kind of continue on and part ways.
Okay, so how many sloths do we save each year? Ooh, that is a hard one to answer. Yeah. Unfortunately, sloths do get into some serious situations, mainly due to human scenarios whereby they get stuck on power lines, they try to cross roads because the tree connectivity is really bad. So, or unfortunately, dogs and cats can be an issue attacking sloths. So there is a lot have to save sloths from those sort of situations. Putting a number on it,
yeah, it's very difficult. We're quite a young organization as well. We've only been around about 2 years, and a lot of that has been setting up the rehabilitation program and getting the hand raised guys released. So right now, one of the big things we're doing is trying to build up kind of our presence in the community. So as we do that, the more sloths will rescue, because people will be like, somebody 2 miles down the road might be like, oh, maybe 2 months ago they might think, oh, this sloth's fallen, I don't know who to call. But then in 2 months from now, maybe they know who we are and then they call us. So yeah, we can't really put a number on that right now. Their lifespan, so we think their lifespan is about maybe around 20 years. In captivity, their lifespan, or like in zoos. So I don't know if you've ever been to a zoo and seen a sloth, but there's been a two-fingered sloth which lived up to 40 years old in captivity, but in the wild it wouldn't be that much, so it would be around 20 years old.
Yeah. Why is there a need to rehabilitate them? So basically all our sloths in our program were orphaned at a very young age. So we obviously need to look after them because they obviously can't survive in the wild by themselves yet. The sloths here aren't endangered under the ECN Act, but we are looking after them due to the fact that they have been orphaned is mainly due to humans. So we can't just turn a blind eye to them, unfortunately, because they are adorable and we love them. So that is why we can rehabilitate them.
About how large will sloths become? So the three-fingered sloths, they're a lot more kind of lanky and spindly, and the two-fingered sloths are a lot more kind of chunky and built. So the two-fingered sloths will get bigger, and they will weigh up to about 6-7 kilos. So I guess you guys don't do kilos. So in pounds, 15 pounds, I would think. And then the three-fingered sloths would probably be maybe 11, 12 pounds, maybe.
Are sloths mammals? Yes, they are mammals. They do not lay eggs. They give birth to live young, usually only one. Twins are very rare, and usually, unfortunately, the weaker twin possibly will die because of outcompeting with the other twin. So some of our sloths that we have in our program are actually twins. So mammals and don't lay eggs.
So question about what kind of predators do they have? So unfortunately for us, it's something we have experience with some of our sloths. Sloths are a prey species, and when they're much younger, there are many different things that would go after them. But the main kind of predators that they have are cats. So that would be jaguars, ocelots, potentially margays. But jaguars and ocelots are the main ones. And then also potentially birds of prey. So harpy eagles are kind of the classic bird of prey that goes after sloths. There could be other things which are opportunistic, potentially owls. Unfortunately, we did have one of our wild sloths that we were tracking killed by an owl, which was very sad. And we've had a couple killed by ocelots. But like cats, jaguars, and ocelots, and birds of prey, big birds of prey would be the main predators that they have.
Okay, so why are sloths faster when they swim? So yeah, all sloths can swim, and definitely they will be faster when they are swimming because they're a lot more vulnerable from predators. Being like exposed in the open water like that is very dangerous for them. So definitely they want to get from A to B as quickly as possible and back up into the safety of the trees.
So for how long have we been saving sloths? Well, as the Sloth Institute, we've been around about a bit over 2 years. So it was August 2000, coming about 2.5 years. August 2014 is when we started. So our founder, Sam Troll, she was saving sloths before that. But personally, for me, it's been about 2.5 years. And for Sarah, it's been about 1.5 years. But as officially as an institute, we've been saving sloths kind of since we started.
How long is life on a sloth? So yeah, we said it's around 20 years in the wild, and in captivity it can go up to 40. Why do they need warm water? Sloths actually don't go down to any rivers or streams to drink. They mainly get all their water from the leaves. In the dry season, they have been noted to lick water off the leaves because in the dry season it doesn't rain at all here. You only get slight patches, so when it does rain, the sloths tend to lick the leaves in those periods. But sloths don't go down to any resource to drink.
And then next one, so about rescuing sloths, or are they brought to our facility? It's a bit of both. Really, we have had ones that it could be, say, for instance, if one of you guys was walking around, say, Costa Rica or a national park, maybe you saw a baby on the ground and you rescued it and brought it in. Those situations have happened. But there's also been situations where people have called us, and that would be the right thing to do. So instead of just kind of picking it up and being, oh, it needs to go to the institute, generally what we would hope is that people would call us, because what we try to do depending on the situation, is always we try to reunite the baby with the mum, if it's possible, because the baby's going to have a better life if it's wild and lives with its mum. Then as good as we try to be, we're not sloths, so we can't do as good a job as them. So initially we'll always try and reunite with the mum with the baby, but if it needs to be rescued, for example, recently rescued a newborn sloth that had fallen from the tree. We looked for the mum. We may have seen her, but she was up very, very high, and it may not have even been her. So in that situation, very newborn sloth, we had to take it away and rescue it. Otherwise, it could have easily died if we hadn't done that. Okay. So when sloth babies leave their mum, so for three-fingered sloths, again, this is something that we are very interested in, and it's something that's, again, not hugely exactly well known, and it can vary. So for the three-fingered sloths, they'll probably start becoming independent maybe around 8-9 months, and by the time they're a year old, they should be separated from their mother. And then for two-fingered sloths, by the age they're 2 years old, they will be separated from their mother.
So Nathan has asked how big sloths can get. So yeah, two-fingered sloths are the bigger. They can get up to 6-7 kilos, and sometimes they can look like a Labrador size. Yeah, basically the dog Labrador, they can get up to around that size. And three fingers are smaller, and they get up to about 4 or 5 kilos.
So for the how many sloths die each year, there's no way to really put a number on that. There's a lot of, with them being in the jungle, there's probably a lot of sloths that people don't see. They're very, very cryptic animals, so that's one of the reasons there's not been a lot of studies on them. It's difficult to find them. So probably there are a lot of sloths which maybe die from human causes, but people don't see. So it's pretty tough. It's very tough to put a number on that. But as Sarah mentioned earlier, if you were in that bit earlier, the main things that they will get reasons for them dying is from human causes are getting electrocuted. They see the power, the power lines cut through trees, and they see the power lines as a natural extension of the jungle, like a vine. They're not climbing on it thinking, oh, this thing might electrocute me. So unfortunately, they get electrocuted on that. Getting hit by cars, roads fragment habitat, so they might have to come down and cross the road to get to the other side. But unfortunately, they might get hit by a car. Getting attacked by dogs, by cats, with people. Come dogs and cats, and there are a number of stray dogs and cats and more kind of feral dogs around here, which a sloth coming down to the toilet is a perfect meal. The dogs need to eat as well. So yeah, it's very difficult to put a number on that.
So Gabby has asked, do sloths eat slow, and if so, how long does it take for them to eat a meal? So yeah, for sure, when a sloth does something, they like to do it for a long period of time. So if a sloth has found a really good tree that has lots of young leaves on it, then they could spend eating a few hours going around from branch to branch, foraging, looking for food. So yeah, eating a meal could take up to 2 hours easily. Yeah, like when a sloth scratches, that means it's really happy. Some sloths can scratch up to an hour if they are relaxed enough.
For the how many sloths are there in the world in the wild, that's impossible to say. 6 species of sloth, so that we have 2 of them in Costa Rica, the brown-throated three-toed and the Hoffman's two-toed. There's a pygmy three-toed sloth, which they are kind of critically endangered. They're found in Panama on an island. If you've seen the show Planet Earth 2, in one of the early episodes in that, they actually feature pygmy sloths. It's a male you can actually see one swimming. It's a male that's swimming because there's a female that's calling out to say that she's ready to mate. And so the male's kind of swimming, where is she, where is she? There's a main sloth, which looks like a small version of Chewbacca, which is vulnerable in terms of being endangered and is found mainly in Brazil. And then you have a Linnaeus' two-toed and a pale-throated three-toed. But yeah, in terms of the number, it's impossible to say. Lots and lots and lots, especially in like the Amazon and stuff, there's parts of the Amazon that haven't even been tracked. So yeah, it'd be impossible to.
So how small are they when they are born? So three-fingered sloths are very small when they are born, and they can be up to 150 grams and can be the size as your phone. Basically, they are very small. They are very smart as well. Sloths, even from our program, we have noticed that sloths are a lot smarter than I ever thought. Definitely, their slow motion can cause some people to think they're kind of stupid, but no, definitely their spatial memory is amazing. A sloth can remember where it has been or where it's going very, very well. So yes, sloths are actually really, really smart. And yes, their eyes are open when they are born. And actually, all sloths are born up in the trees. So the mum does not come to the ground or anything to give birth. She's up in the trees, and basically she will catch the baby with her hands and place it back onto its stomach.
What is their natural habitat? If I just rotate the computer, well, pretend the road isn't here. The jungle and the trees behind, that is their natural habitat. So where we are right now, there's potentially, sloths potentially in these trees, but rainforest, the jungle is their natural habitat, kind of what you see behind us.
Yeah. Can we show you any sloths? Unfortunately, we are not able to show you any sloths. The sloths that we have in our program, we do not touch them because we do not show them to the public either, because they are through a rehabilitation program where we want to get them back into the wild. Therefore, human contact is kept at a minimum, and yeah, they aren't seen by any other people other than the TSI members.
So, question from Arcadia about the sloth predators. So like I said a little bit before, cats and birds of prey, so ocelots, jaguars, harpy eagles, potentially larger owls are kind of the classical predators of sloths.
How many hours do sloths sleep? A lot, but not as much as people think. They definitely do. So for two-fingered sloths, they sleep throughout the day, but then they wake up around 6 p.m. and they can be active through the whole night until they go back to bed, which is around 5 a.m., 6 a.m. So they can only sleep during the day, which is around 10 hours. Three-fingered sloths, basically the same. They are a lot more active when it's dry. Three-fingered sloths do not like the rain, so they'll tend to curl up and sleep until it's over. But yeah, sloth sleeping, I'd say 10 hours a day.
Around 10 hours. And they'll rest more than that, but there's a lot of times when you might see them curled up in a tree or them lying on their back on a branch in a tree, and it appears like they're asleep, but they're actually fully aware and awake of what's going on. It just sleep. Because the whole big part of their thing is camouflage. You won't be very good at camouflage if you're running and jumping around a lot. Favorite part of working with the sloths? I mean, there's a lot of things that are great about working with them. One of them is that the project that we're doing is about releasing animals that have been harmed potentially by humans back into the wild. So it's kind of mistakes that humans have done, and then also that it's a completely new project, so it's never been done in the world. And then also, really, not to be cliche, but the favorite part is probably the sloths. They all have different personalities. We have more aggressive ones, which are more calm, ones which like various foods, ones which are a lot more inquisitive, ones which are a lot more scared. They don't just all have, they definitely do have different personalities. And kind of, getting to know the sloths and then seeing them do well, ones that have come from being little babies to them being out in the jungle, I would say that's probably one of the best bits.
Yeah, no, same. Yeah, my favorite bit is watching these tiny little sloths that come into us and then they've grown up and now being back into the wild is definitely the best thing. So Emily has asked, are sloths born with fur? Yes, sloths are definitely born with a full set of hair, and yeah, they are born with a full set of hair.
Oh, that's actually the same question as Angela. Uh, in terms of length, when they're fully grown, so potentially in kind of we do a measurement which is nose, basically down to like the base of so for 3 fingers the base of their tail, or to their bum for the 2 fingers, and probably around like 63, maybe around like 63 centimeters in terms of length.
So are sloths friendly to each other? So 3-fingered sloths are a lot more friendly to each other than the 2-fingered. 3-fingered are not as aggressive, so 3-fingered sloths will definitely hang out in trees together, mainly due to, I think, food reasons, that they just tolerate each other and like they're in the same tree, and they won't really interact in terms of play very often or like anything other than, yeah. That 2-fingered sloths are definitely territorial. Male sloths will fight one another for territories, but they will tolerate female sloths a lot more and allow them to be in their territory. But any males that come in, they will definitely fight them away.
Next question about possible for seeing a sloth, or is this impactful? Yeah, as Sarah mentioned a little bit earlier, unfortunately it's not possible. Like unless there was maybe a wild one around here, and we did take a brief look, and unfortunately we couldn't see one. But yeah, unfortunately with our hand raised guys, they're in a rehabilitation program, and us holding them here and doing this would definitely be very counterproductive to their rehabilitation program. One of the main things that we're trying with them is to limit as much human interaction as possible. Really, the only human kind of interaction they get is if we're having to do a health check on them, or just when they see us when we're putting up their food. And then with the guys in the wild, it's just if we're doing a health check. Sloths, you do see a lot of places which might let you hold sloths, but sloths really do not like to be touched. These, when they're babies, we're trying to kind of replicate being a mother, so they might be on you, but if you try to do any sort of petting motion, it's just like, I don't know if you guys have any dogs that don't like to be petted, or if you've ever tried to pet a dog that's afraid. If you try and pet it, their kind of head ducks down and they look afraid. It's the exact same with sloths. Sloths do not like to be handled. It's not natural for them. It's scary to them. So yeah, that's why we can't show a sloth. It definitely would be very impactful and counterproductive to them.
Are they all the same color? So 2-fingered sloths tend to be a beige color. In warmer regions, they tend to be a lot lighter. Where we are right now, they tend to be a lot lighter, light beige. But up in San Jose, which is the capital here, it's a lot colder, and the sloths there are a lot darker. They can become brown, nearly sometimes black. So yeah, they vary depending on where they are region-wise, but the definitely 2-fingers are all beige. 3-fingered sloths are grey. So they're a mixture of grey, browns, yeah, but basically I think that is just all same color.
Yeah. Yes, they can climb straight up trees, but it depends on the size of the trunk. So if you have a trunk that's, if you've seen, those giant redwoods, like they would not be able to climb up the trunk of that. So it really has to be a trunk that they can that either has grooves in it, or they can pretty much get the majority of their arms around. If the trunk's too big, then they can't climb up it.
Are sloths endangered? From Jack. Sloths, there's only one species of sloth that's endangered, and that's the pygmy sloth, which is only found on one island in Panama. But the other sloths are endangered. In fact, that human destruction of their habitat and building up of roads and houses is impacting the sloths a lot. So that is why we're trying to basically get in there before they become endangered, to help make sure that never happens to our sloths here in Costa Rica.
That's a question from Parker about sloths, how much they drink in a day. So sloths get all their water really from the food. Get all their water from the food that they eat. So they're getting their water from the leaves. So there's not really, you won't really see them drinking water. having do sloths have a good sense of smell? Yes, yes, we do believe that sloths do have a very good sense of smell. Sorry, we're just having a small. This computer is dying, and the power source we're plugged into is not working. So we're just going to have to move. So just hold tight with us for 2 seconds.
Yes.
But we will continue answering questions.